Watch to the end to discover the one thing that changes everything for the woman who spins gold in darkness, and why the real alchemy was never about transforming others. The first time someone asked me to turn straw into gold, I was sorting through grant applications at the charity office where nobody knew my name. I was Maya. Just Maya. The woman across the desk called me the quiet one from the back room. And when she described her daughter's predicament, her eyes barely found mine. She was looking past me, towards some imagined version of myself who could fix what her daughter had broken. Here's what I've learned about being invisible to people. They see you perfectly when they need something. The quiet ones, we're given the gift of watching before anyone watches us. We see the patterns in their fears, the architecture of what they're really asking for when they ask for something else. We understand the mythic language beneath their words. They think we're ordinary. They don't realize we're alchemists. She's 32, the woman said. Her name was Patricia. Unmarried. She told her boyfriend she was more established than she actually is. Now he wants to meet her at the office, the real office, not the one she invented. She's a marketing executive in her head. Here, she's struggling. I heard the plea beneath it. Make her golden. Transform the lead into something that glimmers. Most importantly, do it quietly, so no one suspects the intervention, the artifice, the borrowed self. I heard you were good with people, Patricia continued. Could you help her, coach her, make her presentable? I said yes, as I always did. This was my particular curse. I could see what people needed to become, rather than what they already were. I held the knowledge of their transformation like a secret, like a name that shouldn't be spoken aloud. I was, in every meaningful sense, Rumpelstiltskin. Except the miller's daughter in the fairy tale eventually needed to know my name to reclaim her power. Most people never ask. Her name was Sasha. She came to my flat on a Tuesday evening in autumn, when the light through my windows had turned that particular shade of gold that makes ordinary rooms feel mythic. On my shelf, where the lamplight caught it, sat the golden thread I'd been given years ago by someone I'd transformed. It was thin, barely visible, unless the angle was right. I'd never used the gift they'd attached to it. I'd kept it as a reminder of a particular transaction, a price I'd never collected, and now it sat there, catching the light, unseen by Sasha, but somehow already significant. I would learn later why. Sasha arrived with her bag over her shoulder, and her eyes darting around my small sitting room, as if she was memorizing the details for later inspection. She was beautiful, but that wasn't the problem. She was anxious in a particular way, a way people often feel when they sense they're being fraudulent, and all the coaching in the world couldn't fix that. It lives in the bones. It whispers. You can hear it in the spaces between their words. My mum says you're brilliant at people, she said immediately, sinking into my chair. I heard it in her voice then. We were already in a transaction. Her mother had positioned me as the fixer. I was the one who would take her shame and alchemize it into confidence. I'm good at seeing what people are already capable of, I told her carefully. That's different. That requires you to be honest about who you actually are. Over the next 6 weeks, I became Sasha's mirror and her architect. I taught her to speak from the authority of her experience, not her imagined resume. I rewired her interview habits, her body language, her relationship to the space she occupied. I watched the shift in her. It was real, it was earned. She was becoming someone stronger, more rooted. The straw was turning into something luminous. Then her boyfriend proposed, and she didn't tell him it was because of our work. I just felt so much more confident after seeing him less, she'd said brightly when I asked. I think I needed space to find myself. I was the invisible hand, the quiet magician. No credit, no name, no acknowledgement. And I felt it then, the first twist of something cold in my chest. This was how it always went. The transformation was attributed to luck, to the other person's choices, to mysterious external circumstances. Never to the alchemist who'd stayed late, asked hard questions, held their discomfort until they'd transmuted it into something gold. But worse than that was what Sasha said next. Mum wanted to pay you, but I said you'd probably do it for nothing. You seem like the type who just helps. The type, the quiet type, the invisible type. The type who spins gold in the darkness and expects no wages, no name, no recognition. the type who exists in service to other people's ascension. It settled in me then. Not anger, something quieter and more profound. A recognition of my own pattern, crystallizing into something I could no longer ignore. I had been Rumpelstiltskin my whole life, but I'd never demanded the price. I'd given the first child for nothing. I'd given every transformation for nothing. And in exchange, I received the luxury of invisibility and the burden of knowing myself to be capable of miracles that nobody would ever publicly credit. This was the bargain I'd made without realizing it. The quiet ones always make it. We accept erasure in exchange for the ability to see. We accept invisibility in exchange for power. We tell ourselves it's noble. We tell ourselves it's who we are. But who we are and who we've been forced to become are not always the same thing. That night, I took the golden thread from my shelf. I'd been given it by the first person I'd ever truly transformed. He had been a broken poet, and I had spent 3 months teaching him how to hold his own pain without using it to justify his cruelty. When he published his collection, I was there, invisible in the back. He'd thanked his therapist, he'd thanked his sister, he'd thanked his cat. He'd never thanked me. But he'd left me the golden thread, still attached to a note I barely remembered. It said, "For the woman who knows she's the magician." I'd taken it as a compliment. Tonight, I understood it as a curse and a question. The woman who knows she's the magician, not the woman who plays small, not the woman who spins gold and accepts nothing. The woman who knows what she is, and who knows what she deserves. Did I know? Or had I been so long in the shadows that I'd mistaken visibility for vanity and payment for greed? The next time someone came to me asking for gold, I did something different. It was Sasha again, 2 months into her engagement. She arrived at my flat with coffee and that particular energy of someone about to make a request. "I need help planning my wedding," she said. "You made me confident. I need that magic again." And I heard it then. The true transaction. Not a request for help. A request for resurrection, for continuous transformation, for the ongoing miracle that I apparently existed to provide. The gold-spinning woman, endlessly available, forever invisible, forever expected to produce magic on demand. "No," I said. She blinked. People rarely say no to Sasha. "No," I continued, and I felt it in my body, the way the word shaped my spine differently, straightened something that had been bent for 20 years. The silence that followed was the silence of a boundary being drawn, and she was on one side of it now, not inside the circle of my service. What you need is to plan your own wedding. What you needed in our sessions was permission to trust yourself. I gave you that. The rest was yours. The gold you spun wasn't magic. It was you, becoming you. Do you understand the difference? She shook her head slowly. "But you're so good at it," she said. "Surely you would." "Surely I what? Exist to serve as your invisible architect? Spin gold endlessly while you take the crown? Do you even know my name?" She stared at me. The afternoon light caught the edge of the golden thread on my shelf, and she looked at it, then back at me. "Not really," she admitted quietly. And there it was, the crux. The woman who had spent 6 weeks in my company, who had been fundamentally transformed by our work, did not actually know my name. I was the quiet one, the helper, the function rather than the person. I gave her the name, the true name, Maya, not the quiet one, not the helper, not the miracle worker. Maya, a specific person with boundaries and dignity, and a life not centered around her capacity to transform others. "I will help you," I told her, "if you decide you want coaching, but it will be paid work, it will be professional, and I will not be invisible. When you succeed, you will say I was there. You will acknowledge the labor, because my labor has value, and I am not a fairy tale character. I am a woman, and I know my own name." She left my flat, startled but not angry. Something in my refusal had clarified something for her too, perhaps. That people who love us should be visible. That invisible rescue is just another form of abandonment. I reached for the golden thread after she left. I held it in the lamplight, and I understood it differently now. It wasn't a curse or a compliment. It was a reminder, a talisman, a name itself, for the woman who knows she is the magician. Not in service, not invisibly, not for nothing. For the first time in 20 years, I had named myself. The inquiries stopped for a while after that. Without the promise of invisible rescue, of magic at no cost, of transformation without acknowledgement, people moved on. There were other quiet ones, I suppose. Other women who spun gold and asked for nothing, who would serve in the darkness while others wore the crown. But then someone different came. A young man named David, nervous, asking explicitly for coaching. "I'll pay you," he said immediately. "I know your time is valuable. How much?" I named a price. He didn't flinch. He also asked for my name in our first session. And when he left after 3 months, transformed and ready for the career he'd been too afraid to claim, he wrote me a proper email with my name in it. Not as an afterthought, not as a correction, as a person he'd worked with, as the architect of his own transformation, standing visible beside him. The golden thread now sits beside my photograph on the shelf where clients can see it. When people ask what it is, I tell them the truth. It's a reminder that I once spun gold in darkness. It's a reminder that I know how. But it's also a reminder that the most important alchemy is not turning lead into gold. It's turning invisibility into presence. It's naming yourself before someone else names you. It's demanding the price of your own labor and calling it what it is. Integrity. The quiet ones do spin gold. But we must learn eventually that the gold is not the transformation we offer others. The gold is ourselves, finally visible, finally valued, finally known by name. We don't reclaim our power by giving it away. We reclaim it by acknowledging what we always knew. We are the magicians, and it's time we acted like it. The door to my office now reads Maya Winters Coaching and Transformation. It's small lettering, but it's there. I am visible now, and when I spin gold for others, they know exactly who to thank. If you recognized yourself in Maya's silence, in that particular alchemy of seeing others while remaining unseen, then this is your invitation. The quiet ones have always understood that our power lies not in what we do in darkness, but in what we choose to make visible. In these stories, we explore the archetypes that live inside the INFJ and Sigma consciousness. We look at the woman who spins gold, the outsider who knows too much, the transformer who must learn to claim her own name. If you've felt the pull of these myths, if you've recognized yourself as the character nobody sees until they need something, subscribe to this channel. Comment with your own recognition, your own name, your own story of reclamation. The next tale of shadow and transformation waits for you in the silence. And this time, it will bear your name.